There is a gentle truth whispering beneath all the noise of your life, a truth that has never raised its voice, never competed with your worries, never argued with your fears, and yet has always been present, patiently waiting for you to notice it. It says to you now, not as a command, not as a demand, but as an invitation born of love. You do not need to stress. You were never meant to live clenched inside your own mind, gripping life as if it might slip away the moment you loosen your hold. Stress is not strength. Tension is not control. Worry is not wisdom. They are habits of forgetting who you really are. When you are stressed, you are leaning into a belief that the universe is unsafe, that life is hostile, that everything depends on your constant vigilance. Stress is the body's way of saying, I think I'm alone in this, and the quiet voice of the divine responds again and again, you never were. But that voice does not shout over your racing thoughts. It does not interrupt your mental rehearsals of what could go wrong. It waits for stillness, because stillness is the language through which guidance flows. You see, guidance does not arrive through panic. Insight does not emerge from pressure. The next right step is rarely revealed when you are mentally pacing the room of your fears. Divine intelligence moves with elegance, with simplicity, with calm certainty. It moves like breath, like gravity, like the turning of seasons. And when you stress, you close the door to that movement, not because you are punished, but because you are distracted. You are listening to the voice of urgency instead of the voice of truth. Take a moment now and notice what stress feels like inside you. Not the story behind it, not the justification for it, but the sensation itself, the tight jaw, the shallow breath, the shoulders lifted as if bracing for impact. Stress is a contraction, a pulling inward, a forgetting of the vastness that holds you. Faith, on the other hand, is an exhale. It is not blind optimism or denial of difficulty. It is the deep knowing that even in difficulty, you are carried. Faith is the recognition that the same intelligence that beats your heart without your permission is also orchestrating your life beyond your understanding. There is something profoundly healing that happens when you stop arguing with the moment you are in. Stress is an argument with reality. It says, this shouldn't be happening, or I can't handle this, or I need this to be different right now. And every argument with what is creates friction inside your soul. But when you soften, when you breathe, when you allow the moment to be exactly as it is without labeling it as a mistake, a subtle shift occurs. You begin to feel supported rather than attacked by life. This is not about passivity. It is about alignment. When you stop stressing, you are not giving up responsibility. You are giving up resistance. You are stepping out of the illusion that you must carry the weight of the world on your nervous system. You are remembering that you are a channel, not the source. The river does not stress about reaching the ocean. It flows, and the destination takes care of itself. In the same way, your life is not asking you to force outcomes, but to cooperate with the intelligence already moving through you. There is a sacred paradox here that the ego struggles to understand. The more you try to control everything, the less peace you feel, and the more you release your grip, the more clarity arrives. This is not coincidence. This is design. The ego believes that tension equals safety, that vigilance equals power, that worry is a form of love. But the soul knows otherwise. The soul knows that love is trust, that power is presence, that safety is not found in predicting every possible future, but in resting in the awareness that whatever unfolds, you will be guided through it. God speaks the loudest when you are quiet inside. Not because God prefers silence, but because silence is the state in which you can hear. Guidance is always broadcasting, but stress is static. Worry is interference. When your mind is racing, you are tuned to the wrong frequency. When you slow down, when you breathe deeply, when you release the need to know everything right now, you begin to receive insights that feel less like thoughts and more like recognitions. They arrive as calm certainty. They arrive as gentle nudges. They arrive as a sense of, this feels right, rather than a frantic, what if? You may have noticed this before in small moments. When you stopped trying so hard, the answer came. When you let go of forcing a decision, clarity emerged. When you finally relaxed, the solution appeared effortlessly. These are not accidents. They are reminders. Reminders that stress is not the doorway to progress. Surrender is. And surrender, in its truest form, is not weakness. It is alignment with a wisdom far greater than the thinking mind. There is a part of you that already knows how to live without stress. It is the part of you that existed before you learned to worry, before you learned to measure your worth by outcomes, before you learned to believe that love must be earned through struggle. This part of you is not impressed by chaos. It is not intimidated by uncertainty. It knows that life unfolds exactly as it needs to for your growth, even when the path is not immediately clear. Stress often arises from the belief that something essential is missing, that you are behind, that you should be further along, that you are not enough as you are right now. And yet the truth is quietly radical. You are already enough. Not when you fix everything, not when you figure it all out. Now, in this breath, in this imperfect, unfolding moment, when you accept this, not intellectually but experientially, the nervous system relaxes, the body softens, the heart opens, and in that openness, guidance flows naturally. Healing begins within, not as an act of effort, but as an act of allowance. You do not heal by fighting yourself into peace. You heal by stopping the inner war. You heal by noticing how often you push yourself, criticize yourself, pressure yourself to be different than you are. Stress is often self-directed violence masquerading as motivation. It is the belief that you must be harsh with yourself to survive. But love has never required force. Transformation does not come from tension, it comes from compassion. Imagine what would happen if you treated yourself with the same gentleness you would offer a frightened child. You would not shout at them to calm down. You would not demand that they have all the answers. You would sit with them. You would reassure them. You would remind them that they are safe. In doing so, you would regulate their nervous system, not by logic, but by presence. This is exactly what the divine presence does for you when you allow it in. It does not scold you for worrying. It simply waits for you to soften enough to feel held. When you stop stressing, you create space. And space is sacred. Space is where insight enters. Space is where intuition whispers. Space is where miracles feel ordinary. The mind wants to fill every gap with planning, predicting, and protecting. But the soul thrives in openness, in the pause between thoughts, in the breath between breaths, in the moment when you admit, I don't know, and that's okay. There are no justified resentments, because resentment is stress stored in the heart. It is the refusal to let life move forward. It is the belief that peace must wait until the past is corrected. But the past cannot be corrected. It can only be released. Forgiveness is not about condoning what hurt you. It is about freeing yourself from the burden of carrying it. And when you forgive, when you truly let go, the body relaxes, the mind clears, and guidance rushes in like fresh air into a sealed room. Forgiveness is the path to freedom because it dissolves the inner tension that blocks love. And love is not sentimental, it is intelligent. Love knows how to guide. Love knows how to heal. Love knows how to lead you step by step, moment by moment, into a life that feels aligned rather than forced. When you forgive, you are not losing anything. You are reclaiming yourself. Change your thoughts, and you change your life. Not because positive thinking manipulates reality, but because your thoughts determine what you are available to receive. A stressed mind is closed. A peaceful mind is open. An open mind notices opportunities that a tense mind overlooks. An open heart senses timing that a fearful heart mistrusts. When you change your inner climate from pressure to presence, the outer landscape responds in ways that often feel miraculous, though they are simply natural. You are not your ego. The ego thrives on urgency, comparison, and control. It believes that if it relaxes, everything will fall apart. But you are not that voice. You are the awareness that hears it. You are the stillness beneath it. You are the field in which thoughts arise and dissolve. And the moment you identify with the observer rather than the noise, stress begins to lose its grip. You no longer need to silence the mind. You simply stop obeying it. Living in the now is not a spiritual slogan. It is a physiological necessity. Stress always lives in the future or the past. Peace lives here. Right now, in this breath, you are okay. Right now, you are alive. Right now, nothing is required of you except presence. And when you anchor yourself here, guidance does not feel distant or mysterious. It feels intimate. It feels personal. It feels like a quiet confidence that says, take this step, and then, now this one. The soul always knows. It knows when to rest, it knows when to act, it knows when to speak, and when to wait. But it cannot guide you if you are constantly overriding it with fear. Stress is often the refusal to listen. Faith is the willingness to trust what you sense rather than what you fear. And trust is not built by forcing certainty. It is built by noticing how often you have been carried through moments you once thought would break you. You are a divine being having a human experience, not a human being desperately trying to earn divine support. Support is not conditional. It is not withdrawn when you make mistakes. It is not delayed until you are calm enough to deserve it. It is constant. But you must be receptive. And receptivity requires softness. It requires humility. It requires the courage to stop pushing and start allowing. So breathe now, not as a technique, but as a remembrance. Each breath is proof that you are sustained. Each exhale is permission to let go. You do not have to solve your entire life in this moment. You only have to stop fighting it. And in that surrender, something remarkable happens. The noise fades, the body relaxes, the heart opens, and in the quiet that follows, guidance emerges, not as a dramatic revelation, but as a gentle knowing. Stress closes the door. Faith opens it. And faith is not the absence of fear, but the decision not to let fear lead. When you choose faith, you choose alignment. You choose peace. You choose to trust that even when you cannot see the whole path, the next step will be revealed. And it will be revealed not through tension, but through stillness. Remember this, you are not here to suffer your way into worthiness. You are here to remember who you are. You are here to live from the inside out. You are here to let life move through you rather than against you. And every time you stop stressing, every time you soften your thoughts, every time you choose presence over panic, you open yourself to a guidance that has never left you. Be quiet inside, not by force, but by kindness. Let the storm settle. Let the waters clear. And you will see that you were never abandoned, never unsupported, never alone. You were simply listening to the wrong voice. Now listen to the one that speaks in peace. And as you listen now, not with your ears, but with the quiet center of your being, notice how something within you is already responding. There is a subtle loosening, a gentle recognition, as if an inner knot you forgot you were carrying has begun to untie itself. This is not imagination. This is remembrance. The body remembers peace. The soul remembers trust. You are not learning something new. You are returning to something ancient within you. There is a rhythm to life that cannot be hurried without consequence. When you rush, when you press, when you demand answers before their season, you move out of sync with that rhythm. Stress is often the sound of being out of tune with your own nature. And nature never strains. The stars do not rush across the sky. The seed does not panic underground. Everything unfolds according to an intelligence that does not consult fear. When you align with that intelligence, effort becomes graceful and action flows without force. You may have believed that your stress was proof of your commitment, that your worry showed how deeply you cared, but caring does not require suffering. Love does not need anxiety to validate its sincerity. In truth, stress clouds the very wisdom you need to care effectively. When your mind is tight, your vision narrows. When your heart is guarded, your intuition quiets. Peace is not indifference, it is clarity. And clarity allows you to respond rather than react. There is a profound difference between responding and reacting. Reaction is driven by old conditioning, by unexamined fears, by the past repeating itself through you. Response arises from presence. It is fresh. It is alive. It is informed by the now rather than imprisoned by yesterday. When you stop stressing, you step out of reaction and into response. You give yourself access to choice, and choice is the birthplace of freedom. Consider how often you attempt to manage outcomes instead of tending to alignment. You focus on results, timelines, and guarantees, believing that if you could just secure the future, you could finally relax. But the future cannot be secured through tension. It can only be entered through trust. Alignment is your true responsibility. When you are aligned with peace, with truth, with love, outcomes arrange themselves in ways the anxious mind could never orchestrate. There is a sacred intelligence moving through every challenge you face. It is shaping you, refining you, inviting you into greater awareness. Stress resists this process. It says, I should not be here, or this should not be happening. But growth often arrives disguised as inconvenience. Guidance often comes disguised as uncertainty. When you meet these moments with openness instead of resistance, they reveal their purpose gently, without struggle. You are not broken because you feel overwhelmed at times. You are human. But you are also more than human. And the part of you that is more than human is never overwhelmed. It observes. It understands. It waits. When you identify with that deeper awareness, stress becomes a passing weather pattern rather than a permanent climate. You stop asking, how do I fix this? And begin asking, what is this teaching me? And in that shift, wisdom unfolds. Stillness is not emptiness. It is fullness without noise. It is the fertile ground from which insight grows. When you allow moments of stillness into your life, even brief ones, you give your inner guidance a place to land. You do not need hours of silence or a perfect environment. You need willingness. A single conscious breath can interrupt a lifetime of habitual tension. A single moment of surrender can recalibrate your entire nervous system. Notice how peace feels when you stop chasing it and simply allow it. It is not dramatic. It does not announce itself. It arrives quietly, like dawn, gradually illuminating what was always there. In peace, you do not lose your edge, you lose your fear. And fear has never been a reliable advisor. Peace sharpens perception. It refines intention. It brings you back into harmony with the intelligence that animates all life. There is a deeper trust being asked of you now. Not trust that everything will go according to your plans, but trust that you will be guided even when plans dissolve. Life is not happening to you, it is happening through you. And when you stop resisting its flow, you become a participant rather than a combatant. You move with life instead of against it. And life, in its wisdom, always supports those who cooperate with its rhythm. You do not need to earn rest. Rest is your natural state when you stop believing the story that you must constantly prove your worth. Worth is inherent. It is not negotiated through productivity or validated through exhaustion. When you release the need to justify your existence, your body relaxes into its natural intelligence. Healing accelerates. Creativity returns. Joy becomes accessible again. There is an inner voice that speaks without urgency, without threat, without pressure. It does not demand immediate action. It invites gentle awareness. This voice is not impressed by panic. It is activated by presence. When you feel compelled to rush, to fix, to control, pause and ask yourself, who is speaking right now? If the voice carries fear, it is not the voice of guidance. Guidance carries peace, even when it asks you to take bold steps. The mind may argue with this. It may insist that calm is unrealistic, that peace is naive, that vigilance is necessary. But the mind has been trained by a world that equates struggle with value. You are allowed to unlearn that lesson. You are allowed to choose ease without guilt. Ease does not mean a lack of depth, it means alignment with truth. Every time you choose to soften instead of tighten, you send a signal to your entire being that you are safe, and safety is the foundation of intuition. When you feel safe, your inner guidance becomes clear, precise, and reliable. When you feel threatened, even by imagined futures, your system goes into defense and wisdom retreats. Peace invites wisdom forward. So allow yourself to trust the pause. Allow yourself to not know for a moment. Allow yourself to be held by something greater than your plans. You are not abandoning responsibility. You are redefining it. Your responsibility is not to control life, but to align with it. And alignment begins the moment you stop stressing and start listening. There is nothing missing right now. Nothing is wrong in this moment. Even your uncertainty is part of the unfolding. When you stop labeling it as a problem, it becomes a doorway. And beyond that doorway is a quieter, wiser way of living, one where guidance is not chased but received, where peace is not postponed but practiced, and where you remember again and again that you were never meant to do this alone. And now, as the words continue to move through you, let them settle not in the intellect but in the space beneath it, where knowing does not need explanation. There is a quiet courage that arises when you stop insisting on certainty. It is the courage to remain open, to remain present, to remain receptive, even when the mind would prefer closure. This courage is not loud or dramatic. It feels like steadiness. It feels like standing firmly in the middle of life without needing to push it away or pull it closer. There is an unseen order to things that reveals itself only when you stop interfering with it. Stress is interference. It is the attempt to force clarity before it is ripe. It is the refusal to let mystery do its work. But mystery is not your enemy. Mystery is the womb of creation. Every insight, every revelation, every transformation begins in not knowing. When you allow yourself to rest there without panic, you discover that uncertainty is not emptiness, it is possibility. Notice how often you confuse urgency with importance. The loudest demands are rarely the truest ones. What is truly meant for you does not require strain. It does not arrive with threat or pressure. It aligns. It resonates. It feels quietly inevitable. Stress pulls you away from that resonance. It convinces you that you must rush toward what is already moving toward you in perfect timing. Timing is a sacred intelligence. It cannot be bullied. It cannot be negotiated with fear. It unfolds when conditions are aligned, when you are ready to receive without distortion. When you stress, you distort perception. You see obstacles where there are invitations. You see delays where there is preparation. You see endings where there are thresholds. Peace restores accurate vision. It allows you to see life as it is, not as fear predicts it will be. There is a deep humility in allowing guidance instead of demanding control. It is the humility of recognizing that the same intelligence that formed galaxies also moves through your smallest decisions. You do not need to manage that intelligence. You need to cooperate with it. Cooperation begins with listening. Listening begins with stillness. And stillness begins the moment you stop arguing with the present. You may notice that when you relax your grip, emotions rise that you have been holding at bay. This is not regression. It is release. Stress often acts as a lid, keeping grief, fatigue, and longing suppressed. When the lid lifts, feelings surface, asking to be acknowledged, not fixed. Allow them. Emotions are energy-seeking movement. When you stop resisting them, they move through you and leave clarity in their wake. There is a tenderness required here, a willingness to be with yourself without judgment. You are not meant to be perpetually strong, perpetually composed, perpetually certain. You are meant to be authentic. Authenticity creates alignment. Alignment invites guidance. Guidance restores peace. This is the cycle you return to when you stop stressing and start trusting. Pay attention to how guidance feels in the body. It is not frantic. It does not tighten your chest or shorten your breath. It often feels expansive, even when it challenges you. It carries a sense of rightness that does not need defense. When you feel compelled to justify a decision through fear, pause. Guidance does not need justification. It needs permission. You are learning to live from a deeper center now, one that is not governed by external approval or internal pressure. From this center, action arises naturally. You do what needs to be done, not because you are afraid of consequences, but because it aligns with truth. This kind of action is efficient without being exhausting. It is purposeful without being forced. It leaves you feeling more yourself, not less. The world may continue to move quickly around you. Noise may persist. Demands may still appear. But something within you has shifted. You no longer take every signal as a summons. You no longer interpret every challenge as a threat. You discern. You choose. You respond from presence, and presence is the doorway through which divine guidance flows effortlessly. There is a quiet joy that emerges when you realize you do not have to outrun life. You do not have to anticipate every turn. You do not have to brace yourself for impact. Life is not chasing you. It is inviting you. And the invitation is always the same. Come back to now. Soften your thoughts. Trust the intelligence that breathes you. As you continue forward, remember this feeling not as a memory, but as a reference point. Whenever stress returns, let it be a signal, not a failure. A signal to pause. A signal to breathe. A signal to listen. Stress is not an enemy to defeat. It is a reminder to return home to yourself. And in that return, again and again, you will find what has always been waiting. A guidance that does not shout. A support that does not waver. And a peace that does not depend on circumstances, only on your willingness to be still enough to receive it. And now, Let the words dissolve into something quieter than language, something that does not need to be remembered because it is already part of you. Feel how the effort to hold everything together can finally soften. You do not need to brace yourself anymore. You are allowed to rest inside the truth that life is not an enemy to conquer, but a partner inviting you into trust. There is a deeper intelligence carrying you forward, even when your mind cannot see the road. It has always been there, guiding your breath, healing your wounds, arranging meetings, endings, beginnings, and pauses with a precision that fear could never design. When you stop stressing, you stop interrupting that intelligence. You step aside just enough for grace to move freely. Notice how peace does not require anything from you. It does not ask you to improve, to hurry, or to become someone else. It simply asks you to arrive, to be here, to feel your own presence without judgment. In that arrival, something sacred happens. You remember that you are not late, not behind, not failing. You are unfolding. The urge to worry may still visit from time to time. Let it come without resistance. Let it pass without obedience. You no longer need to fight it or analyze it. Simply notice it and return to the quiet place beneath it. Every return strengthens your trust. Every moment of softness rewires your relationship with life. There is a freedom in realizing that you do not have to push the river. You do not have to demand signs or force clarity. What is meant to reach you will do so with ease. What is meant to leave will do so with purpose. And what remains will shape you gently, not through strain, but through understanding. You are learning to live from the inside out now, from presence instead of pressure, from faith instead of fear, from listening instead of forcing. This way of living does not make life smaller, it makes it truer. You begin to notice beauty where you once saw threat. You begin to feel supported where you once felt alone. And in this quieter way of being, guidance becomes ordinary. It shows up in a feeling, a pause, a sense of calm, certainty. It guides you not away from life, but deeper into it, step by step, breath by breath, moment by moment. So let go now, not dramatically, not all at once, but gently. Release the need to have everything resolved. Release the belief that stress is necessary. Release the habit of carrying tomorrow's weight today. You were never meant to live like that. Be still enough to hear what has always been speaking to you in peace. Trust enough to follow what feels true rather than what feels urgent. And remember, whenever the world feels loud or uncertain, that you can return here to this quiet center where guidance waits patiently and where you are always unmistakably held. There comes a quiet moment in every life when the noise falls away, when the voices that once affirmed you grow distant, when the hands you expected to reach out remain empty air. It is in this moment, not the loud, celebrated ones, that the real work of awakening begins. This is the moment that feels like abandonment, but is, in truth, an invitation. An invitation to discover who you are when no one is clapping, no one is guiding, and no one is standing beside you telling you that you are enough. If you are listening to these words right now, it is not by accident. There is something in you that already knows this season has meaning. You may not like it, you may resist it, you may wish it would end, but the soul does not bring you into emptiness without a reason. The universe does not strip away external support to punish you. It does so to reveal something essential that has always been there, waiting patiently beneath the noise. Most of us are taught, subtly and persistently, to look outward for confirmation of our worth. We learn to measure ourselves through approval, through recognition, through validation that comes from outside our own skin. And so, when that approval disappears, when encouragement dries up, when you feel unseen and unsupported, the ego panics. It whispers, something is wrong with you. You are failing. You are alone because you are not enough. But the soul speaks a very different language. The soul says, now you are ready. Ready to discover a strength that does not depend on applause. Ready to access a guidance that does not come from opinion. Ready to feel a peace that is not negotiated through circumstance. This is the beginning of true inner freedom, the moment you stop waiting for permission to become who you already are. You see, the universe does not work for you in the way the ego imagines. It does not arrange itself to meet your demands or soothe your fears. The universe works through you, and when you finally understand this, everything changes. Because if the universe works through you, then the source you have been searching for outside has always been within. When no one is there for you, You are being asked to turn inward, not as an act of isolation, but as an act of remembrance. To remember that you are not a fragment begging for completion. You are a whole expression of life itself, temporarily forgetting its origin. The loneliness you feel is not evidence of separation. It is the ache of reunion calling you back home to yourself. Think about how nature grows. A seed does not ask the soil for approval. It does not negotiate with the sun. It does not check to see if anyone believes in it before it breaks open. The seed simply follows its nature. And in the darkness of the soil where no one sees, where no one praises, where no one supports, it does its most important work. Your solitude is not a setback. It is soil. In this space where no one is watching, you are being freed from the need to perform. You are being released from the exhausting task of proving yourself. You are being invited to grow in a way that is honest, organic, and aligned with who you truly are. And this kind of growth cannot happen when you are constantly looking over your shoulder, asking, is this good enough for them? Do they approve? Am I doing this right? When no one is there for you, you are given the rare opportunity to live from the inside out. This is where self-doubt often becomes loudest. Doubt thrives in silence when the ego no longer has external reassurance to lean on. It tells you that if no one supports you, you must be wrong. If no one believes in you, you must be misguided. But doubt is not wisdom. Doubt is simply fear asking for authority. And fear loses its power the moment you stop obeying it. Strength is not the absence of fear. Strength is the decision to listen to something deeper than fear. It is the quiet commitment to keep walking even when the path is unclear, even when the outcome is uncertain, even when the world seems indifferent to your effort. This is not blind optimism. This is alignment. When you align with your inner truth, you stop needing the world to agree with you. You stop asking for permission to trust your intuition. You begin to understand that the most reliable guidance system you will ever have is the one that speaks softly from within, not the one that shouts from without. The ego says, I will believe in myself when others do. The soul says, others will reflect my belief once I choose it. There is a profound shift that occurs when you stop outsourcing your confidence. When you realize that waiting for support is a habit, not a necessity. When you see that approval is a preference, not a requirement. In that moment, you reclaim your power, not in a forceful or arrogant way, but in a grounded, peaceful certainty that says, I am rooted in something deeper than opinion. And from that place, focus becomes natural. Focus is not something you force. It is something that emerges when you are no longer scattered by the need to be seen. When you are not constantly checking the mirrors of other people's expectations, your energy gathers itself. Your mind becomes clearer. Your actions become more intentional. You stop rushing, not because you are afraid, but because you trust the timing of your own unfolding. When you are alone, distractions lose their appeal. There is no audience to impress, no comparison to win. And in this quiet, you begin to hear the subtle wisdom of your own being. You start to notice what truly matters to you, not what you were told should matter, not what earns praise, but what feels aligned, meaningful, and alive. This is how you rise above doubt, not by fighting it, but by outgrowing it. You outgrow doubt by living in integrity with your inner self, by choosing actions that feel honest even when they are unpopular, by continuing to move forward, not because you are certain of success, but because you are certain of your sincerity. The universe responds to sincerity. It responds to alignment. It responds to inner coherence far more than it ever responds to force. And here is the great paradox. When you stop waiting for support, support begins to appear, but not always in the form you expect. Sometimes it comes as resilience, sometimes as clarity. Sometimes as unexpected opportunities that only reveal themselves once. You are no longer dependent on approval. You begin to notice that life has been quietly assisting you all along, shaping you, strengthening you, refining you, not through comfort, but through challenge. Not through reassurance, but through self-discovery. Solitude, when embraced, becomes sacred. It strips away the false self, the one that needs to be liked, the one that fears rejection, the one that believes it must earn love. What remains is the authentic self, the one that knows its worth without negotiation, the one that acts from purpose rather than fear, the one that understands that peace is an inside job. This is where healing begins. Healing does not start when others understand you. It starts when you understand yourself. It does not begin when the world validates your pain. It begins when you stop identifying with it. You are not your struggles. You are not your loneliness. You are not the story of being unsupported. These are experiences passing through you, not definitions of who you are. When you release the need for external validation, you also release resentment. You stop asking why others did not show up for you because you realize that their absence was part of your awakening. You forgive not because what happened was acceptable, but because carrying it no longer serves your freedom. Forgiveness clears the path forward. It lightens your inner load. It restores your energy to the present moment, where all real power resides. And in the present moment, you discover something remarkable. You are already enough. Not someday, not after success, not after recognition, right now. Your worth was never contingent on support. Your value was never dependent on agreement. Your purpose was never meant to be crowdsourced. You were designed to listen inwardly, to trust deeply, to move courageously, even when the way is lonely. This is what it means to get ahead, not ahead of others, but ahead of the illusion that you need others to validate your existence. Ahead of the fear that tells you you cannot stand on your own. Ahead of the old conditioning that says solitude equals weakness. True advancement is internal. It is the quiet evolution of consciousness. It is the steady alignment with your higher self. It is the realization that the universe is not withholding anything from you, it is expressing itself as you. When you walk this path, even alone, you are never truly unsupported. You are supported by life itself, by an intelligence that beats your heart, breathes your lungs, and inspires your dreams. You are supported by the same force that moves the stars and grows the forest. And the more you trust this, the more you feel it guiding you, not loudly, not dramatically, but faithfully. So if today feels lonely, let it be honest. If the road feels quiet, let it be sacred. Do not rush to fill the silence with noise or the emptiness with distraction. Stay present. Stay gentle. Stay committed to your inner truth. Because the moment you stop waiting for someone else to believe in you is the moment you begin to believe in yourself. And that belief, calm, grounded, and unshakable, is the foundation upon which everything meaningful is built. Keep walking, even when no one is there for you, especially then. And as you keep walking, something subtle begins to occur. The silence that once felt heavy starts to feel intelligent. It no longer presses against you as absence, but surrounds you as presence. You realize that quiet is not empty, it is listening. It is the field in which intuition speaks without interruption. In this stillness, you begin to sense that life has been communicating with you all along, not through noise or urgency, but through gentle nudges, inner sensations, moments of resonance that cannot be explained but can be trusted. You start to notice how often you once abandoned your own knowing in order to be accepted, how many times you softened your truth to avoid discomfort, how frequently you doubted the first clear signal from within because it did not come with external confirmation. And rather than judging yourself for this, you feel compassion. You see that this was never weakness, it was conditioning. You were taught to value consensus over consciousness, approval over alignment. But now, in this season of standing alone, you are being re-educated by your own soul. There is a maturity that arrives when you no longer need to announce your growth, when you stop explaining yourself to those who cannot hear you anyway, when your sense of direction becomes internal rather than performative. This maturity is quiet. It does not rush to defend itself. It does not need to convince. It simply moves forward, steady and sincere, anchored in something deeper than reaction. And with this maturity comes discernment. You begin to feel the difference between effort and strain, between discipline and self-punishment, between commitment and fear-driven persistence. You learn that forcing yourself forward while doubting your worth is exhausting, but moving forward from self-trust feels surprisingly light, even when the path is demanding. The weight you once carried was never the work itself, it was the resistance to believing in yourself without witnesses. At some point, you realize that solitude has sharpened your awareness. You can feel when something is aligned and when it is not, without needing to justify it intellectually. Your body becomes a compass. Your emotions become information rather than obstacles. Your thoughts slow down, not because you are suppressing them, but because they no longer need to shout to be heard. This is when you begin to understand that inner power is not dominance, it is coherence. It is the harmony between what you think, what you feel, and what you do. When these are aligned, doubt loses its grip. Not because it disappears entirely, but because it is no longer in charge. It becomes a passing weather pattern rather than the climate of your life. You also start to see people differently, not with bitterness for those who did not support you, but with clarity. You recognize that everyone is acting from their own level of awareness, their own fears, their own unfinished healing. You stop personalizing their absence. You stop measuring your worth by their capacity to show up. And in this release, your heart becomes lighter, more spacious, more free. Freedom, you discover, is not the ability to do whatever you want. It is the ability to be who you are without asking permission. It is the ease that comes from no longer negotiating your identity with the outside world. It is the quiet joy of knowing that even if nothing changes externally, you are no longer at war with yourself. From this place, focus becomes devotion. Not obsession, not pressure, but a gentle loyalty to what feels true. You show up for your life not because you are trying to prove something, but because you are honoring something. Each small action becomes a form of self-respect. Each step forward becomes an affirmation. I trust myself enough to continue. And the universe responds to this trust in subtle, almost invisible ways, not always with instant results, but with synchronicity, with timing that cannot be forced, with lessons that arrive exactly when you are ready to receive them. You realize that life is not testing you to see if you are strong enough. It is training you to remember who you are. There is a sacred responsibility that comes with this remembrance. Once you know that your power comes from within, you can no longer give it away so easily. You become mindful of the stories you tell yourself. You choose thoughts that feel expansive rather than diminishing. Not because you are pretending everything is fine, but because you understand that your inner dialogue is the soil from which your experience grows. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, peace becomes your baseline. Not the peace of having everything figured out, but the peace of trusting the unfolding. You no longer need to rush ahead of life or cling to the past for reassurance. You meet each moment as it is, grounded, open, present. This presence becomes your refuge. No matter where you are, no matter who is with you or not with you, you are at home. You begin to sense that this journey was never about being supported by others. It was about becoming self-supported in truth, about realizing that the same intelligence that moves through the universe moves through you, that you are not separate from it, not forgotten by it, not excluded from its abundance. You are an expression of it, learning to trust itself through human experience. And so you continue, not hardened by solitude, but clarified by it, not closed off, but centered, not waiting anymore, but walking. Each step taken from this place carries a different energy. It is quieter, yes, but it is also undeniable. It does not ask for recognition. It does not fear misunderstanding. It simply aligns, and alignment has its own momentum. This is how you stay strong, not by resisting vulnerability, but by grounding yourself so deeply that vulnerability no longer threatens you. This is how you stay focused, not by narrowing your vision, but by anchoring your attention in what matters most. This is how you rise above doubt, not by arguing with it, but by living from a level of awareness where doubt cannot follow. And as you move forward like this, you may notice something unexpected. You are no longer alone in the way you once were. Not because people suddenly appear, but because the sense of abandonment dissolves. You feel accompanied by life itself, by purpose, by a quiet confidence that does not need witnesses. You keep going, not because it is easy, not because it is guaranteed, but because it is true. And that truth, lived consistently, becomes its own support. And in this continued unfolding, you begin to recognize that what once felt like being left behind was actually being left alone with yourself for the first time. Not alone in the sense of deprivation, but alone in the sense of clarity. There is a difference between isolation and intimacy, and this season has been teaching you intimacy with your own being. You are no longer escaping yourself through noise, through distraction, through the borrowed identities of expectation. You are learning how to sit with your own presence without flinching. In that presence, you discover that your value does not fluctuate with circumstance. It does not rise when you are praised or fall when you are ignored. It is constant, like gravity, unseen, unquestioned, holding everything in place. When you truly feel this, you stop bracing yourself against life. You stop anticipating rejection before it happens. You stop shrinking your light to make others comfortable. You become natural again. There is a humility in this, naturalness. Not the humility of self-diminishment, but the humility of truth. You no longer need to be special to be meaningful. You no longer need to be ahead to be whole. You simply need to be present, sincere, and willing to keep showing up for your own life. This willingness becomes your quiet strength. It does not shout. It does not compare. It endures. As you move from this space, your relationship with effort changes. You are no longer driven by the fear of falling behind or being forgotten. You are guided by an inner rhythm that knows when to act and when to wait. Patience stops feeling like stagnation and begins to feel like intelligence. You trust that what is meant to emerge will do so in its own time, through your own alignment. And when challenges arise, as they always do, you meet them differently. You do not see them as evidence that you are unsupported, but as invitations to deepen your trust. Each difficulty asks a simple question: will you abandon yourself here, or will you stay? And each time you choose to stay with your breath, with your awareness, with your compassion for yourself, you reinforce the foundation you are building. A foundation that does not crack under pressure because it was not built on approval. There is also a subtle grief that surfaces in this stage, the grief of realizing how long you waited for others to give you what you could have given yourself all along. Let this grief move through you gently. It is not here to accuse or shame you. It is here to release the past. And as it releases, it frees enormous energy. Energy that was once tied up in longing now becomes available for creation. From this liberated space, purpose begins to feel less like a destination and more like a state of being. You stop asking, "What should I be doing?" and start asking, "How do I want to be present?" And when your presence is grounded, attentive, and loving, your actions naturally align. You find yourself drawn toward what is authentic, not what is impressive, toward what is meaningful, not what is safe. This is where inner freedom becomes lived reality. You are no longer governed by the need to be chosen. You choose. You choose your thoughts. You choose your responses. You choose the pace at which you grow. And in choosing yourself, not in isolation from others, but in integrity with yourself, you become available for deeper, more genuine connection when it arrives. Until then, you walk without bitterness. You walk without hurry. You walk without the old ache of proving your worth. You walk with a quiet companionship inside, a sense that you are not moving through life alone, even when the path is solitary. That companionship is your higher self, your deeper intelligence, the part of you that has never doubted your belonging. And so the journey continues, not toward some external finish line, but into greater alignment, greater trust, greater ease. You are not being tested to see if you can survive without support. You are being shown that support was never outside of you. It was waiting for you to claim it, to embody it, to live from it. Keep walking in this knowing. Let it settle into your bones. Let it inform your choices. Let it soften your judgments of yourself and of others. You are not late. You are not lost. You are exactly where you need to be to remember the truth of who you are. And from this remembrance, everything else unfolds. And now, as this awareness settles more deeply, you begin to feel a gentler relationship with life itself. Not a struggle, not a negotiation, a partnership. You are no longer pushing against the current or waiting on the shore for someone to pull you forward. You are in the water, moving with it, trusting that the same force that carries the river knows exactly where it is going. There is a quiet courage in this trust, a courage that does not need armor. You stop bracing for disappointment. You stop rehearsing explanations. You stop living as if the next moment must justify the last. Instead, you meet each breath as sufficient, each step as enough, each day as complete in itself. And in this state, something remarkable happens. Your identity softens. You are no longer defined by what you lack, what you lost, or who failed to show up. Those stories loosen their grip. They no longer introduce you. They no longer lead the conversation inside your mind. You become less interested in the past, not because it disappears, but because it no longer has authority over who you are becoming. You feel yourself anchored in something timeless, something untouched by circumstance. And from this anchoring, a new strength emerges, not the sharp strength of resistance, but the deep strength of rootedness. The strength of a tree that does not argue with the wind. It bends, it listens, it remains. You realize now that being unsupported was never a sentence. It was a sanctuary, a clearing where the false self could fall away without witnesses, where the soul could speak without interruption, where your life could realign itself from the inside, quietly, honestly, permanently. And when doubt visits, as it still may, you greet it differently. You do not try to silence it. You do not follow it. You let it pass through like a cloud crossing a wide sky. You remember that you are not the voice in your head questioning your worth. You are the awareness that hears it and chooses not to obey. This is mastery, not control over life, but freedom within it. You begin to move with a subtle grace. You act without urgency. You rest without guilt. You speak when truth asks to be spoken, and you remain silent when silence feels aligned. You are no longer performing strength, you are inhabiting it. And this embodiment changes everything. You notice that even when challenges arise, you are not shaken in the same way. The ground beneath you feels steady, not because circumstances are predictable, but because you are. You trust yourself to respond. You trust life to teach. You trust that whatever unfolds will meet you with exactly what you need to grow. And in this trust, peace stops feeling conditional. It is no longer postponed until success arrives or loneliness ends. Peace becomes your companion now, quiet, consistent, unremarkable to the outside world, but profound within you. You understand, at last, that getting ahead was never about outrunning others or escaping difficulty. It was about moving beyond the illusion that your power lived anywhere other than where you stand. It was about releasing the habit of waiting for approval, waiting for rescue, waiting for certainty, and choosing instead to participate fully in your own becoming. You are no longer asking life to prove itself to you. You are living as proof. And from this place, even solitude feels full. Even uncertainty feels workable. Even the unknown feels friendly. Because you are not meeting it as someone fragmented, searching, or incomplete. You are meeting it as someone aligned, someone awake, someone who knows that the universe is not watching from a distance, but expressing itself as every step you take. So you continue not because you must, not because you fear stopping, but because movement feels natural again, like breathing, like trusting, like remembering something ancient and familiar. You walk forward with a quiet smile inside. Not because everything is resolved, but because nothing essential is missing. You have stopped waiting to be supported and started living as support itself, grounded, aware, present. And in this presence, life opens, not all at once, not dramatically, but faithfully. Step by step, breath by breath. You are here, you are enough, and you are already on your way. There's a gentle voice that whispers beneath the clamor of your daily life, softer than your own heartbeat and older than the world you've known. It calls you not by your name, but by the vastness of what you truly are. A soul in evolution, an endless being, quietly aching to remember. Listen, beyond every ambition, every disappointment, every echo of the past, that voice remains, patient as the dawn, urging you forward, inviting you to step into the truth of your future self. This journey, this singular awakening, is not a matter of distance or time. It is a movement within, a soft unfurling, like petals opening toward the sun after seasons of quiet dormancy. Step by step, moment by moment, you are being called not merely to change, but to return to yourself, to the luminous being you were before the world taught you to doubt your worth, to fear your own potential, to wear the mask of limitation. Today, I invite you to step into your future self, not as an act of striving, not as another item to check off some celestial to-do list, but as an act of gentle surrender, a remembering of what you've always carried inside. To step into your future self is to answer the call of the soul, to awaken to the truth that the you are becoming already exists within the you are now. The acorn does not chase the oak, it surrenders to its own unfolding. Close your eyes for a moment and breathe into the stillness. Feel the space between your thoughts. There is an entire universe waiting for you there, a realm untouched by regret or worry, a sanctuary of presence where the past holds no chains and the future offers only possibility. This space is where your soul lives, where your true self patiently waits, beyond the noise of the ego, beyond the pull of habit, beyond the looping narratives of not enough, not yet, not me. You are not your past, no matter how convincing the story. The future self you are called to embody is not a product of your wounds, your failures, or even your triumphs. It is the purest expression of the divine within you, boundless, creative, wise, and infinitely loving. The journey is not about becoming someone new, but releasing what you are not, letting go of what no longer serves, so that the brilliance within can shine through. Consider for a moment the rivers that shape the landscape. They do not force their way through stone. They surrender to gravity, to the gentle, patient pull of what is natural, and in that surrender they become powerful enough to carve canyons, to birth new worlds. Your future self is shaped not by force but by surrender. Let go of the need to control, to predict, to understand every turn before you take it. The path of awakening is not mapped in certainty but in trust, in listening deeply to that inner guidance that knows your wholeness, that remembers your sacred purpose. We are so often taught to believe that we are incomplete, that fulfillment is somewhere out ahead, always just beyond the next achievement, the next relationship, the next stage of life. But this is the great illusion of the ego, the belief that you are lacking, that you must become more before you are worthy of love, joy, or peace. The truth, whispered softly in the language of the soul, is that you are already enough. Right now, in this breath, you are complete. There is nothing missing from you, nothing broken within you that needs to be fixed before you can step into the fullness of your being. Imagine standing at the threshold of your own possibility, looking out over the landscape of your life. What if you chose in this moment to release the weight of every old story that says you are not ready, not capable, not deserving? What if you allowed yourself to see through the eyes of your future self, the one who has already walked through fear and come home to peace, who has learned to forgive, to love, to let go? This is the beginning of true transformation. It is not a matter of willpower, but of willingness, a willingness to surrender your limitations, to open to the mystery of who you are becoming, to trust that every step you take is guided by a deeper wisdom. You are the artist of your own life, and every thought, every intention, every act of kindness is a brushstroke on the canvas of your future. When you imagine your future self, do not see someone separate or far away. See a presence already alive within you, a quiet knowing, a steady courage, a profound compassion. The seeds of your greatness are already planted. Your only task is to nurture them, to create the conditions in which they can flourish. Release the need for certainty. Release the habit of comparing yourself to others, of measuring your progress against the illusions of perfection paraded before you. Your journey is your own, unique as a fingerprint, sacred as the sunrise. The future self you are becoming is not in competition with anyone. It is an unfolding of the divine pattern within you, an echo of the infinite seeking to express itself through your hands, your words, your love. The path to your future self is lit by the lamp of awareness. Notice the thoughts that arise, the feelings that visit you like old friends or unwelcome guests. Each is a messenger, an invitation to deeper understanding, to greater self-compassion. When fear comes, welcome it. When doubt knocks, listen, but do not build your home in those places. Let them pass through you like clouds drifting across the sky, acknowledged but not believed, noticed but not obeyed. You are not your thoughts, you are not your feelings, you are the witness, the space in which all things arise and dissolve. Your power lies not in controlling your inner weather, but in remembering that the sky is never diminished by the passing storm. Your true self is vast, unshakable, timeless. The world will offer you many roles to play, many masks to wear, but the soul cares nothing for these. It calls you always back to truth, back to presence, back to the joy of being alive in this moment. As you step into your future self, make peace with where you are. Healing begins not with judgment, but with acceptance, with the gentle embrace of all that you are, all that you have been, all that you are yet to become. Imagine the child you once were before you learned to doubt your worth, before the world convinced you to shrink. That innocence is not lost. It lives in you still, waiting to be reclaimed, waiting to be loved. You do not need to earn your way into the future. You do not need to prove yourself worthy of happiness or peace. These are your birthright, gifts woven into your being by the very same intelligence that spins the planets and sings the stars into existence. To step into your future self is to accept these gifts, to live in gratitude for the miracle of your own existence, to become a living prayer, an embodiment of love in a world so hungry for healing. Let go of the need to have all the answers. The mind will tell you that you must figure everything out, that safety lies in knowing, in controlling, in holding tightly to what is familiar. But the soul knows that life is a dance, a mystery, a sacred unfolding. Trust the process. Trust yourself. Trust that the same intelligence that grows the tree from the seed, that guides the bird on its migration, is guiding you now, drawing you toward your highest expression. Forgiveness is the key to freedom. Freedom from the past, from resentment, from the stories that bind you, Forgive yourself for the times you forgot your worth. Forgive others for the pain they could not help but cause, for they too are learning, they too are healing, they too are on their own sacred journey. Every act of forgiveness is a step into your future self, a release of what no longer serves, a return to love. Breathe in the possibility of this moment. Feel the quiet power of your own presence. Notice the pulse of life within you, the silent miracle of existence, the inexhaustible well of creativity and compassion that lives at the core of your being. This is who you are, not the labels, not the wounds, not the fleeting fears, but the light behind your eyes, the song within your heart, the unbreakable thread of spirit that connects you to all that is. There is nothing you need to become that you are not already. Your future self is calling you not to change, but to remember to awaken from the dream of separateness, to open your eyes to the truth that you are and have always been whole. Step forward gently. Allow each day to be a new beginning, each breath a recommitment to your own becoming. When you stumble, do not judge. When you fall, rise with kindness. Every experience is a teacher. Every moment is an opportunity to love more deeply, to forgive more fully, to live more authentically. The world needs your light, your presence, your unique voice. Do not hide it. Do not wait for permission. Step into your future self with courage and humility, with gratitude and awe. Trust that your life is meaningful, that your journey is sacred, that every step you take is guided by love. Remember that you are a being of infinite worth, a soul on a journey of awakening, a vessel of the divine. Your future self is already alive within you, whispering words of encouragement, shining light on the path ahead. Listen, trust, become. As you do, you become a beacon for others, a living testament to the power of love, forgiveness, and presence. In stepping into your future self, you inspire those around you to do the same, to awaken to their own greatness, to remember their own divinity. The ripples of your transformation extend far beyond what you can see, touching lives you will never know, healing wounds you will never witness, creating a legacy of light that endures long after you have left this world. So step boldly, step gently, step in faith. The future is not something to fear or control. It is a field of infinite possibility, waiting for you to claim it, to dance within it, to create beauty and meaning from the raw materials of your own life. Let go of the past. Forgive, release, surrender, embrace the present. Breathe in the miracle of this moment. Trust in the unfolding. You are not lost. You are being led. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not alone. You are part of a vast, loving intelligence that holds you in every moment, that guides you home to yourself. This is the truth your soul has always known. Step into your future self and let the world be changed by your becoming. There is a secret in every sunrise, a reminder that each day you awaken, you are offered another chance to begin again, to see with new eyes, to shed the burdens of yesterday and walk forward as if this is the first morning of your entire existence. The future self you long for does not live somewhere out on the unreachable horizon, but in the quiet courage it takes to say yes to this moment as it is, with nothing withheld and nothing denied. You are not here to relive old patterns or reenact yesterday's doubts. You are here to realize, through each breath and each small act of faith, the miracle of your own presence. Let your thoughts be like wildflowers in an open field, some bright, some fleeting, some tender and unexpected. Do not pluck at them. Do not judge the garden of your mind, but let it be. Notice which thoughts uplift and which weigh you down, which stories you return to when tired or afraid. The mind is a faithful servant, but a poor master. It will replay old wounds, rehearse future fears, insist upon limitation. But the soul, vast and patient, remains undisturbed by these clouds. The sky is always blue behind the weather. Your future self is not bound by the mind's insistence on suffering. It is the watcher, the gentle witness, the calm center within the swirl of experience. To step into your future self is to choose again and again the path of love over the path of fear. It is to pause before reacting, to ask yourself, what would the highest version of me do in this moment? Would I defend or would I forgive? Would I withhold or would I give freely? Would I dwell in the safety of old certainties or would I risk opening to the unknown, allowing life to surprise me with beauty beyond what I had planned? Consider the seed that lies in the dark earth. It does not resist the darkness nor rush the sun's return. It waits, surrendering to a wisdom deeper than thought. It trusts the process of its own unfolding, knowing that every moment is a necessary part of its becoming. You too are planted in the soil of experience, watered by the rains of joy and sorrow, warmed by the sunlight of awareness. You do not have to force your future into being. You need only allow, nourish, and remain present to the process that is ever unfolding within you. The world will ask you to hurry. It will tell you there is not enough time, not enough opportunity, not enough of you to go around. It will tempt you to measure your days by what you have accumulated, who you have impressed, what you have achieved. But your soul knows a different rhythm, the slow, steady pace of inner evolution, the music of growth that cannot be rushed, the eternal patience of becoming. The future self you seek is never in a hurry, never anxious or striving. It is here in the quiet spaces inviting you to listen. Look around you now. Wherever you are, whatever you are doing, life is happening. Even in this very breath, the future is arriving, disguised as the present, offering you the raw materials of awareness, choice, and intention. You do not need to see the entire path to take the next step. You need only trust the invitation of your own heart. Every great journey is made in a series of tiny, conscious steps, each one a miracle, each one an act of faith. Release the stories that have kept you small, the judgments, the comparisons, the disappointments collected like stones in your pocket. Put them down. Walk unburdened into the possibility of now. The weight you have carried was never yours to bear. The world may have taught you to shrink, to hide your light, to settle for less than your soul desires, but you are not obligated to believe those lessons anymore. The future self you are becoming has no need for such protection. It is safe in its own presence, grounded in its own truth, free in the knowledge that worthiness is not earned but remembered. Sometimes the greatest act of courage is to remain open to life, to love, to your own vulnerability. The ego will whisper that openness is dangerous, that you must armor yourself against disappointment, heartbreak, loss. But the future self that lives within you knows otherwise. It knows that every closed door is an opportunity to turn inward, to rediscover the sanctuary of your own being, to cultivate resilience that is rooted in acceptance rather than resistance. Openness is the soil in which your future self takes root. There are moments when doubt will rise like a tide, threatening to wash away the shoreline of your faith. When that happens, pause, breathe. Remember that the ocean always returns to calm, that the waves of emotion are temporary visitors, not permanent residents. Doubt is not a sign that you are lost. It is an invitation to return, to recommit, to listen more deeply. Your future self is not the absence of doubt, but the mastery of presence in its midst. Let your life be guided by questions, not answers. The greatest transformations begin with curiosity. What if I am more than I believe myself to be? What if forgiveness really can set me free? What if the peace I seek is not somewhere in the distance, but waiting for me right here in this very moment, if only I am willing to be still enough to notice it? The answers will come not as conclusions to be grasped, but as gentle revelations, as shifts in perception, as new ways of being that emerge when you are patient enough to receive them. Do not wait for your future self to arrive before you begin to love yourself. Begin now. Be gentle with your own becoming. Speak to yourself with a kindness you would offer a beloved friend, for that is what you are, a friend to your own soul, a companion on this sacred journey. Every time you choose compassion over criticism, every time you honor your needs rather than ignore them, every time you forgive rather than condemn, you are weaving the fabric of your future self, thread by luminous thread. Understand that life is not a test to be passed, but a mystery to be lived. There are no wrong turns, only new directions, no failures, only lessons wrapped in disguise. The mistakes you regret are simply invitations to greater wisdom. The pain you carry is an opportunity for deeper healing. Your future self does not judge your past. It welcomes it, embraces it, transforms it through the alchemy of acceptance. You are the dreamer and the dream, the creator and the created, the observer and the participant. The more you awaken to this truth, the less power the circumstances of life have over you. You will find that nothing external, no achievement, no relationship, no possession can add to or subtract from the inherent value of your being. True peace comes not from rearranging the outer world, but from realizing the inner world is already whole. Let gratitude be your constant companion. Thank the experiences that shaped you, the challenges that stretched you, the joys that uplifted you. Thank the teachers who came disguised as obstacles, the friends who arrived as blessings, the quiet moments that reminded you of your own resilience. The more you cultivate gratitude, the more you tune your awareness to the abundance that is already present. Your future self is a master of gratitude, seeing the sacred in the ordinary, the miracle in the mundane. It is not enough to wish for a better life. You must become the space in which a better life can unfold. Shift your thoughts from lack to possibility, from fear to trust, from separation to unity. The universe responds to the frequency of your inner state. When you align your consciousness with the truth of your own divinity, doors open, opportunities emerge, synchronicities multiply. Your future self is not waiting for life to change, but changing life by the quality of its presence. There will be days when the shadows seem long, when progress feels invisible, when hope flickers like a candle in the wind. In those moments, remember, every winter yields to spring, every night to dawn. Trust the process. Trust the timing. Trust that you are exactly where you need to be, learning exactly what you need to learn, becoming exactly who you are meant to become. The soul does not rush. It trusts the slow miracle of its own transformation. As you move forward, let your actions be rooted in love. Not the love that clings or expects, but the love that frees and expands, that accepts without condition, that sees itself reflected in every living being. The future self you are becoming is not separate from the world, but deeply connected to it, recognizing the sacred thread that binds all life. Every act of kindness you offer, every word of encouragement you share, every moment of presence you give to another is a ripple in the ocean of collective awakening. You are not your circumstances, nor are you the sum of your accomplishments. You are the awareness that experiences all of it, the joy and the sorrow, the gain and the loss, the beginning and the end. You are the silent witness, the open space, the presence in which life happens. The more you identify with this awareness, the less you are thrown by the changing tides of fortune. Your future self is calm in the midst of chaos, centered in the whirlwind, anchored in the eternal. Let go of the need to prove yourself. There is nothing you need to justify, no one you need to impress. Your worth is inherent, unconditional, and infinite. When you live from this place of inner security, you become magnetic. Opportunities arise, relationships flourish, creativity flows. Your life becomes a mirror for others, reflecting the possibility of peace, the reality of inner freedom, the truth that we are all, in essence, one. So as you step into your future self, do so with reverence and humility. Bow to the journey that brought you here. Bless the path ahead, knowing it is being created with every intention you set, every choice you make, every breath you take. You are both the traveler and the trailblazer, the seeker and the sage. The future is not written in stone. It is painted with the colors of your own becoming. Remember, always, that you are loved beyond measure, guided beyond understanding, supported beyond imagination. You are never alone, never abandoned, never without hope. The universe conspires in your favor, orchestrating the details of your life with a wisdom that far exceeds the plans of the mind. Trust this. Lean into it. Allow yourself to be carried by the current of grace. And when the voice of doubt returns, as it inevitably will, let it be a reminder to come home to yourself, to the place where your soul resides, where your future self is already waiting, arms open, heart wide, welcoming you into the fullness of your being. Breathe, listen, step forward. You are ready. You always have been. There is a sacred rhythm that hums beneath the surface of all things, a pulse older than time, echoing in the chambers of your heart. If you listen not just with your ears, but with your whole being, you will hear it whisper, "You are already home." This is the music of your future self, calling you forward, calling you inward, calling you to remember that every longing, every desire, every prayer you have ever uttered is not a plea for something outside yourself, but a remembering of what has always lived within. Allow your imagination, that divine gift, to paint a picture as vivid as any dawn. See yourself rising each morning, not weighed down by yesterday, but lifted by the possibility of today. The room may look the same, the mirror unchanged, but within your gaze there is new light, new softness, new certainty. Feel the cool air upon your skin and recognize it as the breath of your own becoming. Feel the floor beneath your feet and know that every step you take upon this earth is a sacred one, every moment a unique note in the great symphony of your life. You are not here by accident, nor are you the product of random circumstance. You are the deliberate expression of an intelligence so vast, so loving, so unfathomably creative that it chose to experience itself as you. Imagine for a moment that you are both the sculptor and the clay, shaping and being shaped, choosing and being chosen, a living paradox in perpetual transformation. When you step into your future self, you are not chasing some distant ideal. You are allowing the hands of the divine to reveal what has always been hidden in your depths. Release the urge to force outcomes, to rush healing, to demand answers from the universe before you are ready to receive them. There is nothing wrong with where you are. There is only the invitation to see it anew. When you resist your present, you wage war against your own soul. When you accept, you become the space in which miracles can unfold. Notice the trees, how they bend with the wind, how they surrender their leaves to autumn's call, trusting that spring will return. Your soul too knows the wisdom of letting go. Let this be the season where you surrender old scripts and tired narratives. If you have defined yourself by wounds, allow yourself to imagine a story where healing is possible, where your scars are not signs of defeat but testaments to the resilience of your spirit. The future self who calls you forward is not untouched by pain but transformed by it, softened, opened, made more compassionate. In every heartbreak, there is a lesson. In every ending, the seed of a new beginning. The river of your life may twist and turn, but it is always moving, always finding its way home. Do not be afraid of the darkness. The future is not an empty void, but fertile soil where the seeds of your intention can take root. When you close your eyes and rest in stillness, you enter that creative silence where all things are possible. In this space, fear dissolves, worry quiets, and the voice of the soul rises clear and true. You are safe, it tells you. You are held, you are loved. The next step will reveal itself as you move. You are not meant to walk this path alone. Every soul you meet is a mirror, reflecting back to you an aspect of yourself, a lesson you need, a kindness you can offer. When you step into your future self, you will see the sacred in the stranger, the teacher in the adversary, the friend in the unfamiliar. You will realize that there is no separation, only different faces of the same divine light. Compassion will come more easily, forgiveness more naturally, because you will recognize your own struggles in the eyes of another. Let your presence be your greatest gift. In a world distracted by noise and urgency, choose to be the calm in the storm, the steady hand, the gentle voice. Each moment you offer your undivided attention to a loved one, to a stranger, to yourself, is a moment that heals the fabric of the world. The future self you are stepping into knows that nothing is more valuable than this: to see and to be seen, without judgment, without agenda, simply with love. Allow the ordinary to astonish you, the warmth of sunlight upon your face, the laughter of children, the song of the wind through the trees. These are not mere accidents, but invitations to joy, reminders that the sacred is woven into every detail of this life. When you cultivate awareness, gratitude becomes effortless. You discover that heaven is not a destination, but a way of seeing, a perspective available to you right now, wherever you are, however you feel. If you should find yourself in moments of pain or loneliness, do not flee. Sit with yourself tenderly, as you would with a beloved child. Place a hand over your heart and breathe. Remind yourself that all things pass, that nothing is ever truly lost, that your future self has walked through this valley and found a meadow on the other side. Healing is not about erasing what hurts, but about expanding your capacity to hold it, to let the light in around the edges, until even the darkest place is illuminated. Your life is not a race. The journey of awakening is not measured by milestones or achievements, but by the depth of your experience, the sincerity of your surrender, the courage with which you meet the unknown. Every detour, every delay, every disappointment has a purpose, even if it is hidden from view. Trust that your soul is guiding you perfectly, that what is meant for you cannot be lost, and that your greatest growth often happens in the spaces where you feel most uncertain. As you step more fully into your future self, begin to notice the small shifts, the way you respond to criticism, the way you treat your own body, the thoughts you choose to entertain. Change does not arrive as thunder or earthquake, but as the quiet turn of a leaf, the gentle shift of the wind. Let each day be a new experiment in loving yourself, in honoring your boundaries, in living with intention. Your future self is not waiting for you at the finish line, but walking beside you in every moment, offering encouragement, patience, and unconditional acceptance. Remember, you are a creator. The thoughts you nurture, the beliefs you cherish, the dreams you dare to pursue, these are the tools with which you shape your world. What you hold in mind, you bring to life. The future self you are becoming is the artist behind the scenes, whispering inspiration, guiding your hands, reminding you of the power you possess. Do not let fear dictate your palette. Paint boldly, love deeply, risk vulnerability, for it is through the cracks in your armor that the light gets in. If ever you doubt your progress, look not to the judgments of the world, but to the quiet revolution unfolding within. Notice the gentleness growing where anger once lived, the hope blossoming where despair once took root. These are the signs of true transformation, evidence that you are indeed stepping into your future self, not by leaping, but by living with presence, by choosing love, by allowing grace to do its silent work. You are enough. You have always been enough. The world may have convinced you otherwise, but the voice of your soul, older than the mountains, softer than the dawn, reminds you again and again that you are perfect in your becoming. Nothing needs to be added, nothing taken away. The acorn does not wish to be an apple, nor the sun to be the moon. Be who you are, fully, bravely, unapologetically. The future you seek is not in front of you, but within you, awaiting your recognition, your welcome, your embrace. Let your legacy be one of love. Not in grand gestures or monuments, but in the simple acts of kindness, the moments of presence, the quiet choices that ripple outward and change the world in ways you may never see. Each time you choose forgiveness over resentment, understanding over judgment, compassion over indifference, you are weaving the future from the fabric of your own awakened heart. As you listen now, feel the stirring within. There is nothing you must do, nowhere you must go. Simply be. Breathe. Trust that your being is enough, that your presence is a blessing, that your willingness to awaken is already shaping a future beyond your wildest imagining. Step into your future self not as a destination to be reached, but as a way of being, a dance with the mystery, a love letter to the soul. And when you meet your own reflection, whether in the eyes of another or in the quiet of the early morning, greet yourself with the reverence you deserve. Bow to the journey that has shaped you, bless the road that lies ahead, and know with every cell of your being that you are home. Continue this journey as often as you need. The invitation will never expire. The path will never close. With each step you remember. With each breath you awaken. And with each gentle act of love you step more fully, more deeply, more beautifully into the sacred truth of your future self. And so, in the gentle hush of your own becoming, let yourself surrender to the silent wisdom within. Feel how each breath is both an ending and a beginning, a subtle dissolving of what was, a quiet welcoming of what may be. You are here now, in this tender space between all that is past and all that is still to come, and it is enough. The world softens, the heart expands, and the voice of your soul rises clear and timeless, whispering that every moment is a doorway, every heartbeat a return to the home you never truly left. You do not need to chase what is already yours. You do not need to strive for worthiness. Like sunlight spilling through an open window, your future self is always entering, always illuminating the hidden corners, always inviting you to rest in the truth that you are and have always been whole. Let go of questions, let go of old names. Stand quietly in the open field of your own awareness and let the mystery of your life unfold, soft as morning light. Bless your path with gratitude for the joys, the sorrows, the beauty and the breaking, for each has shaped you, each has polished the soul's radiant core. Forgive easily, love without reason. Return again and again to the still center where peace and possibility dwell. You are the answer you have sought. You are the gift you have waited for. Step gently now, not into a distant future, but into the luminous now, where the self you've longed for stands patiently, arms open, heart unguarded, forever welcoming you home. There is a sacred truth buried beneath every longing, every silent prayer uttered into the vastness of night, every whisper of there must be more. And that truth is this: reality bends to belief. The universe does not yield to certainty, it dances to the rhythm of your faith. Pretend it's real until it is not pretending anymore. Not because you are lying to yourself, but because you are finally telling the truth that is yet to unfold in form. The soul knows before the world sees. Before your eyes recognize it, before your hands hold it, before your circumstances shape it, the seed of your vision already exists in the invisible. Every reality you yearn to inhabit is already present in the unseen. You do not summon it by proving your worth. You summon it by aligning with its frequency, by becoming the space where its possibility is welcomed. To pretend is not to deceive, it is to remember. To awaken the ancient knowing that what you believe is not born from imagination, but from intuition. The child who plays doctor does not think he is faking it, he is being. The girl who spins in circles as a dancer is not pretending she is embodying. And so must you return to the innocence of inner knowing, where imagination is not delusion but prophecy, where vision is not distant but dormant. Life will reflect what you most consistently embody. If you walk as if you are loved, the world will bend to meet you with love. If you speak as if you are guided, the signs will flood your path like a river remembering its course. If you breathe as if you are free, the chains that bound you will dissolve, not because they broke, but because you realize they were never real. The ego wants evidence before surrender. The soul knows surrender is the evidence. Every moment you spend doubting your worth, you strengthen a reality that never belonged to you. Every time you shrink to fit the expectations of others, you deny the light that came here to expand through you. You are not here to survive your existence. You are here to sanctify it. You are here to bring the formless into form, not by force, but by being the container where miracles are no longer impossible. Close your eyes. See the version of yourself that already lives the truth you desire. See her walking not with hesitation, but with peace. See him speaking not to be validated, but to be real. Feel the version of you who no longer begs for permission, but breathes freely as if the universe has already said yes, because it has. The moment you imagined the life you wanted was the moment the divine whispered, "This is already yours." Not yours to chase, but yours to allow. The gate is not locked. The road is not blocked. The voice that tells you otherwise is not the truth. It is the echo of an unhealed world trying to keep you small. But you are not here for smallness. You are here for expansion, for remembering, for rising again and again into the fullness of who you've always been beneath the noise. Pretend then, not from fear, but from faith. Pretend you are already whole because you are. Pretend you are already loved because you've never been anything else. Pretend you are already guided because the path beneath your feet knows exactly where it is taking you, even when you do not. When doubt creeps in, smile gently. You are not the doubt. You are the sky that holds it. Let it pass like a bird across an endless blue, seen, noticed, but not chased. When fear speaks loudly, do not argue. Listen with compassion, and then return to your truth. You are not the trembling voice. You are the silence beneath it. You are not the storm. You are the vastness that allows the storm to pass without clinging to it. Everything you seek is seeking you not because you are desperate, but because you are destined. The moment you decided to act as if it were already real, you began vibrating at the level of its becoming. The moment you stopped asking, "When will it come?" and began saying thank you for its arrival, the world began shifting on your behalf. The ancients knew this. The Tao spoke of becoming by releasing. Jesus spoke of faith as a seed, small yet powerful enough to move mountains. Rumi wrote that what you seek is seeking you, not in the distance, but within your breath. And so I say to you now, stop waiting for proof to believe. Believe, and the proof will arrive. Walk as if the love has already found you. Breathe as if the healing has already occurred. Speak as if the purpose has already been made clear. Move as if your worth is unquestionable. Love as if there is nothing to lose, because love in its highest form is never lost. The world may call you naive, let them. The world may say you are foolish, smile. They do not yet understand that pretending in its purest essence is remembering that living as if is the most powerful act of creation. That faith is not waiting for the invisible to materialize, but knowing that the invisible is already the most real thing there is. You are not faking it, you are feeling it. You are calling it into form not by force, but by resonance. And one day, not far from now, you will look around and realize that what you once imagined has become what you now embody. The life you once dreamed is the life you now live. The peace you once chased is the peace you now radiate. Not because something outside of you changed, but because you remember that all things begin within. And the moment you stop doubting, stop delaying, stop waiting for confirmation from a world that cannot give what it did not create, that moment you stepped into the miracle. Not the miracle outside you, the miracle that is you. So pretend it's real until pretending becomes unnecessary. Until belief becomes being. Until your inner world has so completely shaped your outer that there is no longer any difference. Only presence, only love, only truth, only the endless now in which all things are not only possible, but already happening. Jetsibiti danoi, there is a quiet magic that unfolds when you begin to live not from what you see, but from what you know within. When you rise each morning and step into the day, not with eyes seeking evidence, but with a heart trusting the invisible order that moves galaxies and guides your breath. This is not blindness, it is sight beyond the veil. It is the vision of the soul which sees not with logic, but with light. And so you begin to live as the person you are becoming, Not someday, not if, not when, but now. You speak with the voice of someone who has already healed, because healing is not a destination, it is a decision to release what no longer serves your expansion. You wear peace like a garment, not because everything around you is calm, but because everything within you has ceased resisting. And in that surrender, the illusion of separation fades. You realize there is no gap between you and the life you desire, only the illusion of one. It is not time that creates the bridge, it is presence. And presence is not achieved, it is remembered. It is the natural state of your being once all the noise has been softened, once the distractions have been dissolved, once the ego has bowed to the greater truth of who you are. You are not here to chase outcomes. You are here to embody frequencies. You are not here to manipulate circumstances. You are here to align with the divine rhythm that already knows the way. The more you pretend it's real, the more you collapse the illusion of distance between you and your destiny. You stop walking toward your dreams and start walking with them. They are no longer in the future. They become the path beneath your feet. Pretending, then, is the soul's way of rehearsing its truth until the body catches up. It is not deception, it is preparation. It is the sacred act of saying yes to the unseen before it becomes the seen. When you walk as if you are loved, you allow love to find a home in you. When you speak as if you are guided, guidance begins to flow through your words. When you bless your life as if it is already holy, you sanctify it with your attention. Do not wait for permission to live as your highest self. That permission will never come from the world because the world is still waking up to its own light. But you are awake now. You have tasted the eternal. You have felt the subtle pull of your soul calling you home. You have glimpsed the truth behind the veil. And that truth does not require validation to be real. It only requires your devotion. Live as if you are already what you came here to become. Speak as if every word you offer shapes reality because it does. Move as if the ground beneath you is sacred because it is. Everything is energy, and energy responds not to your effort, but to your essence. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are willing to become. And so pretending is the sacred act of being now who you once thought you had to wait to be. Pretend not as an act of desperation, but as a dance with destiny. Pretend as the earth does when it trembles with spring before a single bud has bloomed. Pretend as the sky does when it blushes with dawn before the sun has even risen. Pretend as the soul does when it hums with peace before peace has entered the room. You are not a beggar of miracles. You are their birthplace. Every time you choose faith over fear, alignment over anxiety, truth over performance, you become a living altar for the divine to express through. This is the secret of creation. You become it first in essence, and the form follows. The form is never the origin. It is the echo, the shadow, the response. Pretend not to impress the world, but to impress upon your own consciousness the truth that you are no longer available for anything less than your soul's full expression. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. This is remembering that humility is not shrinking. It is standing in the fullness of your being without needing to explain it. You do not need to justify your joy. You do not need to apologize for your clarity. You do not need to dilute your light to make others comfortable in their forgetting. You are not here to convince the world to believe in you. You are here to believe so deeply in what is becoming within you that the world begins to believe in itself again. So let it all be real now, the peace, the purpose, the power. Let it be real, not because someone else said it is, but because your soul has declared it. Let it be real in the way you sit, in the way you listen, the way you walk into a room and change the frequency just by being. Let it be real in the softness of your breath and the steadiness of your gaze and the silence you no longer need to fill. Let it be real not in performance, but in presence. Not in pretending for the world, but in pretending with the universe, co-creating the truth until the illusion fades. And it will fade. Slowly at first, like mist dissolving in the Sunday. And then all at once, like a curtain drawn back from a window you didn't know existed. Suddenly the life you once dreamed is the life you now inhabit. Not because you forced it into being, but because you remembered it into existence. You dared to believe in what the eyes could not yet see. You dared to act in harmony with the song your soul was singing long before the world learned to listen. This is not the end. It is the beginning of a life lived from the inside out. A life no longer defined by circumstance, but by consciousness. A life where pretending is no longer necessary because what once was imagined has now become the atmosphere you breathe. And so you breathe as if it's already here, because it is. ChatGPT Danoi. Breathe as if you are no longer waiting, because waiting is born from separation, and you, my dear, are one with the whole. Let your breath become your agreement with the divine, an exhale that says, I trust, and an inhale that says, I receive. Each moment becomes a sacred exchange, not of striving, but of surrender. You are no longer chasing your future like a shadow across the floor. You are sitting in the light, and the shadow moves because you are still. Begin to understand that pretending is not performance, it is participation. You are participating in the dance of energy and the orchestration of the formless becoming form. You are not manipulating reality. You are making yourself available to its highest intelligence. You become the clear channel, the open gate, the willing vessel. And in your willingness, the universe reveals what has always been hidden behind your hesitation, that the dream is not distant, the dream is not ahead, it is embedded in the fabric of now, waiting for your readiness to make it bloom. The garden does not grow faster by screaming at the seed. It grows because the soil is soft, the sun is steady, and the gardener trusts what she cannot yet see. And so must you soften, trust, be steady. You are not weak because you yield to something greater. You are powerful because you remember that you are not the source, but the expression of the source. Pretend not to manipulate the timing, but to harmonize with the unfolding. Live as though the miracle is already underway, because your willingness is the water that feeds its roots. There will be moments when the outside looks unchanged, when the evidence is scarce and the mind begins to doubt. But do not look outward for reassurance. Look inward for alignment. The wind cannot be seen, but its presence can be felt in the dance of the trees. And so too your transformation begins in subtle ways, in the way your voice no longer trembles, in the way your posture becomes prayer, in the way your eyes begin to see not what is missing, but what is possible. And in that possibility, you begin to taste a different kind of power, not the power to control, but the power to become. You do not chase blessings. You embody blessing. You do not beg for clarity. You become the silence that clarity rushes to enter. You do not argue with the delays. You become so still, so certain, that even the detours start to seem like direction. You no longer speak of what is lacking, because lack is no longer your language. You speak now in the native tongue of the soul presence, peace, reverence, enoughness. Watch how life begins to meet you with a new rhythm when you cease to chase its music. Watch how what once eluded you now begins to arrive, not rushed, but right on time. You are not magnetic because you convince. You are magnetic because you believe, because your being becomes a beacon to the things that were already destined to find you once you stopped hiding from your own light. So let the world say what it will. Let the noise carry on outside the temple of your stillness. Let the critics whisper, the skeptics scoff, the doubts dance at the edge of your consciousness. You owe no one proof of your inner alignment. What is real in spirit need not be visible to the untrained eye. A pearl is not less precious because it hides inside a shell. A truth is not less real because it has yet to materialize. It is your belief, your vibration, your unwavering surrender that sanctifies it. And you, beloved soul, are no longer available for the life that waits to begin. You are available only for the life that is already here, humming beneath your skin, rising through your awareness like dawn through the trees. You are no longer interested in timelines and evidence and guarantees. You have chosen the sacred path of trust, the kind of trust that doesn't need a reason because it remembers the source, the kind of trust that creates the conditions for grace to land. And grace, when it arrives, does not shout. It settles like light on water, quiet, certain, complete, just like you. ChatGPT, Danoi. There comes a moment in every awakening soul where the choice is no longer between action and stillness, but between resistance and allowing. The river does not force itself toward the sea. It flows because it remembers where it came from. And so must you remember that what you call pretending is simply alignment unacknowledged, that what you imagine is not fantasy but foresight. You are not a passive observer of life. You are the dreamer through whom life takes shape. You are the breath through which the infinite breathes itself into form. Let your posture be that of one who knows, not one who waits. Let your stillness be bold. Let your silence speak like thunder, for you are no longer bound to the need for external validation. You are no longer dancing for the applause of a world that forgot its own rhythm. You are moving to the tempo of truth now. A truth not borrowed from books or borrowed beliefs, but born within, from that place where the divine placed its whisper inside you before you were even given a name. And what is that whisper saying? It is saying, act as though the miracle has already occurred. Walk as though the path has already opened. Give thanks as though the gift is already in your hands. Because gratitude is not a reaction to what you receive, it is the magnet for what you are ready to hold. And nothing aligns you more swiftly with what you are becoming than sincere, undemanding thanks for what is already on its way. The heart does not ask for permission to beat. It does not wait until the conditions are perfect. It pulses because life is its nature. And so must your vision pulse within you, not waiting, not doubting, not asking, but being, becoming, believing with a quiet fierceness that cannot be shaken by appearances. There will be days when the wind seems strong, when the old stories rise like ghosts from forgotten corners, when the voice of doubt whispers, this isn't real. And in those moments, you do not fight. You do not explain. You simply return to the breath, return to the truth, return to the silent knowing that lives beyond the noise. Because pretending, when done from the soul, is the most sacred form of remembering. Remembering that you were not born to fit into a pre-written script. You were born to author the truth from the core of your being, to sculpt your life from the clay of consciousness, not from the architecture of fear. You do not pretend because you are empty. You pretend because you are full, so full of possibility, of purpose, of presence, that the old reality can no longer contain you. And as you expand, you begin to see differently. You begin to notice how the trees seem to bow in your direction, how the wind feels like a message, how the smallest synchronicities are not coincidences, but confirmations. Life becomes less of a puzzle and more of a poem. You no longer analyze every moment, you feel it. You no longer dissect your journey, you trust it. You no longer look outward for signs, you become the sign. And from this place, a deep gentleness returns to you. The gentleness of knowing you no longer have to earn your way into love. You no longer have to negotiate your worth. You no longer have to hustle for what already belongs to you. You begin to live not as a seeker, but as a knower. You begin to walk through the world with open palms, not clenched fists, with a quiet smile, not a disparity plea. Because now, finally, your inner world is speaking louder than your outer world. And the world begins to listen, not because you demanded it, but because your frequency changed, because your presence changed, because you changed not into someone new, but back into someone eternal. You stopped trying to get the world to believe in you and started living as if you already believed in yourself. You stopped waiting for the signs and became the signal. You stopped asking, when will it happen? And started living as if it already had. And in that holy shift, the entire universe breathed with you and whispered, it is done. Chat GPT Danoy. And so here you are, no longer looking to the horizon as if salvation waits beyond the next dawn, but rooted in this breath, this sacred now, where everything you have ever longed for is already whispering your name. You are no longer pretending, you are remembering. You are no longer rehearsing, you are revealing. And the life you once envisioned from afar now echoes from within every step you take, not because the world has changed, but because you have, because your gaze is softened and your heart is opened and your spirit finally has exhaled. You see now that pretending was never the act of fooling the world, it was the act of freeing yourself. It was the soul stretching its wings before the body caught the wind. It was the light flickering beneath closed lids, preparing to rise. It was the divine in you saying, I have not forgotten. Even as your mind grasps for proof, and now you no longer seek confirmation. You no longer need the mirror to reflect what you know in your marrow. The truth no longer comes to visit, it lives here now. It has taken up residence in your breath, in your silence, in your steady, unwavering presence. There is no need to convince anyone of your becoming. There is no need to narrate your unfolding. The rose does not shout its arrival. The sun does not explain its warmth. You do not need to prove what is already felt. Your life, lived in alignment, becomes its own quiet revolution, a light in the dark for those who have forgotten. A reminder that it is safe to believe before the world confirms it, that it is holy to walk by faith and not by sight. And as you walk, you no longer move from striving but from surrender. You no longer ask, what must I do? But instead, what must I allow? You are no longer the sculptor chiseling away at a block of stone. You are the open sky receiving the Sunday. You are the vessel that knows it is already full. You are the field that trusts the rain will come not because you command the clouds, but because you know how to wait in reverent stillness. And in that stillness you are met, not with fireworks, not with thunder, but with something far more sacred peace. The kind of peace that does not depend on circumstances, the kind of peace that does not leave when the winds return, the kind of peace that is not earned, but remembered. You do not need to chase what is already inside you. You do not need to fight for what your soul already holds. Let every thought now be a blessing. Let every step now be a prayer. Let every silence be filled with the holy music of your being. You are no longer waiting. You are no longer seeking. You are no longer pretending. You are being, and being is enough. It always has been. And now you know